When our youngest was around 3 years old, we as parents felt confident they might be neurodivergent, though we didn't have all the words at that time. It would be years of trying to get educators and professionals to listen to us, evaluate our kiddo, and work toward putting into place supports that we hoped would help them access the public school system as it is. At the time, we felt like no one would listen to us, and ultimately, upon diagnosis, we were right. Our youngest is autistic. They were formally diagnosed when they were about 5.5. Way too late in this mom's opinion, when parents were advocating with early childhood and educators since they were 3 years old. At the same time, they were diagnosed with ADHD, inattentive presentation, and sensory processing disorder, and we've since learned that they have a PDA profile, internalized presentation. When we first got their official diagnosis, our reaction was relief and hope that we could pursue and provide them with accommodations, supports, and skills that would make life easier, make school more accessible. I feel like we've been able to accomplish some of that, mostly through our own efforts and the occasional extraordinary teacher or school social worker who they connected with deeply. Toad being autistic has been a parenting and human experience that has taught me what seem like endless lessons: flexibility, tolerance, patience, caring less about what others think, recognizing there are many paths to success in life, recognizing that our US version of education truly doesn't fit for everyone. All that to lead up to the fact that they delight in, like joyful heart, genuine, immense, joyful delight in fairy gardens. In years past, each spring we would take the fairy garden bins out of storage, touch up paint and seal any areas that needed it, and then some combination of family members would set up the fairy garden with Toad in a small garden in our front yard. We'd leave it there all summer, and often younger kids would stop by and play with it. We'd even get the occasional adult commenting about how nostalgic it felt for them to see our fairy garden. Last summer we had a covered patio installed, and I suggested we build a year-round fairy garden table that would allow them to decorate and change things out with the seasons. They were really excited by that idea, and the fairy garden is genuinely something I love as well, so I was happy to follow through on this promise. Our local greenhouse has a fairy garden table we've loved for years and also took inspiration from. We were able to talk to the person who built their table, and we're making ours similar in a number of ways. Here you can see their beautiful, mature fairy garden. They've been tending this fairy garden for many years. They have fairy and gnome homes, small ponds and water features, rocks and moss, and ground cover or succulent plants here and there to differentiate spaces. They have plants growing from overhead and trailing down in different levels of homes and settings built out of broken terracotta pots. This video is part 1 of us building our year-round fairy garden table for Toad. I managed to either not record or lose some of the recordings, but we went to Home Depot together with Toad. Actually happy at first, but after about the first 40 minutes or so, losing steam and wishing they'd have let us do that part without them. We had the 4x8 plywood cut down to 4x4 at Home Depot so we could transport it in our VW Atlas. Devin and I worked together to mark and cut the approximate shape on 2 plywood boards. He cut one with the circular saw and the corners with the jigsaw, and I cut the other with the circular saw and jigsaw. My efforts with the jigsaw were not excellent, but I did my best and sanded the rest. I also got some great suggestions for using a physical guide like a lid or a curve guide that you can purchase to guide my jigsaw since I can't follow the line visually. But I had been too impatient to wait for suggestions, so I tried to use the jigsaw to cut what I could without taking too much off, and then sand it around the whole tabletop, which consists of 2 pieces of plywood, to make them as even as possible. Here, Devin is cutting down the 4x4 plywood to 4x3 using the circular saw. Then I try the jigsaw with him observing, and he notices that I'm very much not staying on the line.
Yes.
Okay, well here's the problem. As a blind girl working with lines.
Here's your line right here. You're cutting about half an inch inside of it.
What? I was on it at first.
Yeah, and then you took it a short turn in.
Alright, fine.
After my attempt, we decided to have Devin take care of those corners, so he quickly rounds off those corners with our jigsaw. This next part took place on another day, and this is where I got impatient and did the straight cut with the circular saw, got frustrated trying to figure out how to cut the corners independently, took to the internet asking for advice, and took on rounding the corners even though I hadn't figured out a great way to do the best job of it. Decided I'd spend half my life sanding where I'd not done the best job, and that would just have to be okay.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Oh, that's too heavy. I want so badly to use the jigsaw and do these curves, but when I tried the other day, Devin was like, "You're way off the mark," which is understandable because I can't see the mark. So I don't have a good way to do that. I wish I could figure out something. If anyone has any ideas for how I can follow lines that we've drawn, that would be great. With a jigsaw, I'd really appreciate any ideas because I'd love to be able to do that independently, but...
After I posted a call for help similar to that excerpt, both blind people and sighted people came through. They gave me the suggestions of using a lid as a physical guide for the jigsaw to go up against, and one person told me about metal curve guides intended for this very thing that you screw down to the wood and use as a physical guide. Now, I had already done my somewhat crappy job because, as I said before, patience is not my greatest strength. But now I have a new and quite simple option for making some jigsaw projects more accessible. I painted wood glue on most of the bottom plywood piece, put the top plywood piece on top of it, clamped 3 corners at a time because I couldn't find the 4th clamp, and screwed the top piece to the bottom piece. We left it to dry for at least 24 hours. Here you can see me going in again with the jigsaw, thinking I was going to be able to make a difference on the sections that had very little difference between them. I was wrong. So I get out the orbital sander and put on a podcast for a solid amount of time spent sanding, after which my hands would continue to feel like they were vibrating. We decided to use Flex Seal to mostly waterproof the tabletop. We'll be in a covered space, and we will have an additional cover on it if blown-in rain is expected, but we'd like it to tolerate most anything we throw at it. So I used the liquid Flex Seal and painted that on both sides of the tabletop and the sides. The first coat felt so weird to apply. It seemed like it should go further with each bit of the liquid. Since it's a rubbery coating when it cures, it seems like it kind of sticks as you spread it, so it just doesn't spread as far as a normal liquid paint. After 2 coats of the Flex Seal, I started adding the stringers and legs. We used 2x4s as stringers and attached 2 1x4s to each end of the stringer with a piece of 2x4 at the base of the leg to support and stabilize the foot. I might cover these at some point because I think they're ugly, but that's purely aesthetic, not functional. I reinforced things with a lot of L brackets. I'm not sure most of them were necessary, but they made me feel better. I'm a beginner with building things, and while the things I have built have all turned out well, in my non-expert opinion, I always worry about stability, and I don't have the expertise to know and trust how much strength or stability to expect from given wood, hardware, and different types of connections. I had planned to connect the stringers to the plywood with pocket holes, but research suggested that that was not the way to go, so we changed course. After screwing on the stringers and legs, I had Devin help me move the table to the front yard for a first round of black spray paint. I was able to do that on one of our nicer days. Here in Minnesota, we're still in a very volatile weather early spring, where it's too cold to reliably or consistently do spring things, but we have sporadic beautiful days in the 60s or even 70-degree days that feel like a combination of hope that spring is coming and also a total tease that totally bums me out the next day when it's freezing and snowing. The last step I've gotten done in this first part of the fairy garden table build is to screw the side wall to the tabletop. This would have been far easier if I'd waited until a really warm day because the composite lawn edging material would have been more flexible. Did I do that? No, I did not. I'm not the most patient person. So I used the nail gun to place one nail at the beginning of the sidewall and then continued around, drilling pilot holes and then screwing the sidewall into the tabletop. It took 2 or 3 evenings, but I finally got it done. And this is where we are currently. I can't wait to work on it more, and I really can't wait until the weather is consistently warm enough that we can get our patio sealed and put this garden table on the patio and start bringing it to life. I don't know if I would have liked fairy gardens as a kid, but I love experiencing them through Toad's eyes and being able to share the delight of our fairy garden with them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time.